and it scared the begeezus out of the Saudi Arabians. And they went and reduced the price because they could see it caused a recession, but it also reduced the consumption of petroleum, and they reduced the price. It's a freak occurrence that it's not going to go up here. That will only happen if we suddenly discover more oil. And if we don't discover more oil, there'll never be a line up here. Yes?
You're missing a dimension.
Which is?
I think this is the most important part of this. Even if they discover 10 times as much oil as we've already discovered,
Yeah.
it's going to cost us a couple million times more to pull it out of the ground
Okay.
than before. And I think that's the more important thing, because if it's going to cost you $100 a week for your gasoline, they're going to be 40 million liters in the ground. Like as we can
Okay.
by the car, you can.
Cost of
Yes.
That the book actually goes into sophisticated evaluations of tar sands, and the Americans don't have tar sands, they have shale, and shale is even worse than tar sands because you have to pulverize it as well as heat it and everything. The bottom line is, here's one person's suggestion as to what more oil we're going to find, and it could be that there's going to be more oil in here. But the important principle of the graph is that the area under this curve can never be greater than the area of what's been discovered. And even if more oil is discovered at a higher price, we'll never be consuming up here. And we're going to be consuming somewhere out here. And you're absolutely right. There's no doubt, as soon as there is more demand for oil than there is oil available, price. Because the Arabs lowered the price over here because we weren't buying enough. But as soon as there's more demand than there is supply, the price will go up. There's no question about it. We're heading for $2, $3, $5 a liter oil. Now, it's going to be good for electric vehicles. I came tonight thinking this is going to be an exciting moment because I think the conversion of the world in favor of electric vehicles has happened. I mean, General Motors did announce last week that they were moving up the introduction of the Volt. Yes? This is what has been discovered. Each year they put in a column as to how much was discovered. So they had some big discoveries in the 1930s, and they had some big discoveries here, a peak, but it wasn't very scientific. How they were looking for oil then was catch as catch can. And they didn't have radar, and they didn't have computers. And then they became scientific about the search for oil. And the oil discovered in Saudi Arabia, in Iraq, in the Soviet Union, in Iran, and in Canada, in the tar sands, accounts for a large amount of this curve here. And these little peaks mean that this might have been the North Slope here. This might have been the North Slope, where they validated that there was oil off the North Slope of Alaska. But even if they found a new field in Alaska the size of the one that they found at, it would supply the United States for 3 years. The United States is importing 70 or 80% of their oil. Sure. Yeah.
I'm going to tell you guys something, okay? The Chevy Volt, the Tesla, all these fantastic cars that took us along the route of happy motoring, even if they only use a quarter of the total energy than the present automobiles do, where this is our present automobiles, if we use a quarter of that, maybe it's like that, but it's still increasing.
No, but they're talking oil versus other sources for the electricity.
Well, all I'm trying to illustrate is that even the cars of the size we're used to now, even if they were electric and 4 times as efficient,
They're going to be consuming energy.
We still have way too much.
They're going to be consuming energy. Now, the Tesla costs $100,000. And the Volt, they're arguing about whether General Motors is going to charge $33,000, $35,000, or $37,000 for it. Now, we're going to have cheap... Pardon? They're going to be making a very nice car. I think it'll probably be a very nice car. It's a series vehicle, has a real gasoline engine in it. How much does anyone know the displacement? 1.4 liter engine. Okay. This is because they're chicken. put a car on the market that has a little 300 or 500 cc engine because they want they want never a complaint that I ran out of electricity. So they've got a 1.4 liter engine in it. Meanwhile, the guys in India are going to come out with a car that's going to cost $15,000 or $18,000. And it'll be either all electric or if it's electric hybrid, I'll bet it has a small engine. Did someone shake their head? You say something?
Oh, I'm just agreeing. Well, it's too bad.
Well,
Crazy.
the point I'm trying to make with this graph is people think that they're going to find more oil, Sarah Paula. Yes? It's needed for the industry.
The plastics and so on.
I think in 30 years our grandchildren will despise us. Yes?
Sir, down to that. On one side, run my well, on the other side, you can't run out of oil. Now,
Who's saying we can't?
When is it discovered? When was it discovered?
They made up their mind that they're definitely this much new oil discovered in the year 1999. So there's a little vertical bar here. This is a collection of vertical bars. And in the year 1999, they were satisfied that they had found, for sure, another 10 billion barrels of oil. That's what the graph represents. Each year is a vertical bar representing how, it's like the barrels are stacked one on top of each other. So what is your question?
Have we consumed what was discovered?
No, because the area under the curve up until this point, that area, is not larger than this. Now, what will happen is the price of oil is going to go up and up and up, and we'll never use it all. But our consumption will slow down.
We'll have to, because there won't be any oil.
I mean, the really important conclusion is say goodbye to $1 a liter gas, say goodbye to $1.40 a liter gas. We're heading for $3, $4, $5 a liter for gas.
That's not a big deal.
They do pay $3.50 in Europe.
Let's say goodbye to go to Mexico.
But this North American continent is full of people who are locked in the grip of righteous self-entitlement. And if you were a politician in any of the two elections that are occurring now and you announced, get wise, you're going to have to pay $3 or $4 a liter for gasoline, the scream would be deafening.
Another point here, and that is that as pharma state, it's also dangerous from more because all of our products are delivered to us by transport companies and things like this. And the higher the cost of diesel, the higher the cost of rent, the higher the cost of both products that we consume.
That's why you should buy.
This is the most important thing. It's not pleasure use of vehicle using gasoline that is important. It's our entire transportation infrastructure presently based on transport. Now, Bill Kemp has already said, I want to see transportation in the future. We're going to have to use trains, and we're going to have to go out.
Well, that's maybe in 50 years or 100 years, but if they were to triple the price of gasoline to $4 a liter, enough people would start carpooling and going to work 4 days a week and buying smaller vehicles and switching to electric vehicles, that there will be enough diesel to run the trucks. I don't think we're going to end in a situation where everything will come to a standstill. The most important thing to realize is that the price has got to go up to $3 and $4 and $5 a liter. That's my opinion. Yes? All right, let me comment on that. We buy our flowers, they all come from Colombia and Venezuela. And kiwi fruit comes from maybe New Zealand, but probably comes from places in there. What I think you should do is buy stock at railway companies and buy stock in frozen food companies. Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing? Yeah. Or is that a laugh of fear, or did I say something?
I just thought it was an unusual look at the situation.
What's that?
One of the things we can do is buy locally.
Produce locally and buy locally.
Okay, I agree, and if that happens, we're going to end up eating diets of turnips and beets and carrots and corn
And
and
we'll also
onions.
eat much better health.
Pardon?
It's probably better for us to eat variety.
But the next time you go to the supermarket and look around, we've got oranges and papaya and kiwi fruit and bananas. Kiss that goodbye, at least at the price that you've been paying.
Obviously, that stuff is going to be expensive.
It's going to be expensive.
But there's lots of local produce out there.
We're going to be eating turnips and beets.
And not necessarily. We've got lots of food around too.
Yes.
The last factory.
The what? The amount is
Plastic.
for plastic. Well, of course, I started to say earlier, I think in 50 years we'll be hated for our profligate consumption of petroleum. Jimmy Carter, when he was the president, prohibited the use of natural gas for the manufacturing of electricity in the United States. And the gas industry screamed and said, we have 1,000 years of natural gas. And then Ronald Reagan came in and he removed that limitation. There's over 200 electric generating stations in the United States running now on natural gas, and they will reach the peak point on natural gas in 50 years.
The worst part about that, though, is that we're using our Canadian natural gas. Tar sands to ship to the United States. And because we're running short on natural gas, they're now talking about big nuclear power plants, which will then use up all the water that's being delivered to produce tar into oil to send to the United States.
We signed NAFTA, and when we did, we promised never to cut them off.
In fact, in this election, Director President State has promised that we would we could cut off. It was hard. It said we're going to cut off the bitumen being sent to the United States, which you can't do in Canada.
Well, there may be complications, but there's a whole faction of people. I'm coming to the end now. There's a whole faction of people in Alberta. They want to pump petroleum out of the ground like there's no tomorrow, because their plan is to get rich today. And they're not thinking of future generations, and they're not thinking of the fact that we are going to need petroleum and natural gas to make plastics. So I just wanted to say that anyone who says that, is that another question? There's no political will, because there's no one telling the Canadian public that we're in trouble. Because they all want to get elected, and nobody thinks they can get elected if they're bringing a bad news message. If the public is told that we're in trouble, then the public will tell the government to re-implement those programs. So I'm not... Pardon?
We need to make use of it.
Thank you, David. That was excellent. Well, do look into it. Do look into the policies of the different parties. I think I've seen that there's at least one of the parties that actually does acknowledge some of this stuff. But you know, do some reading. We have Darren.
Doesn't rely on the OE2 protocols to work. You just tap into this consensual fuel injector, calibrate it, and off it. You can find
zoom in. Okay. Wow. So basically, a few things to point out about the graph. The sampling rate is shown at the top. It was 10 samples per second. That's the highest rate. The graph starts at about 41.2 volts or something. That's when this particular battery, it's called EZEE battery pack, is fully charged. And then it shows the blue graph is the voltage, the purple graph is the current. So as the current increases, of course the voltage decreases a little bit. It's called the sag of the battery. And so we can see here that this when you're riding the bike a lot, and the voltage is decreasing all the time, and the current is increasing all the time. Here nothing happened, and notice how the battery takes a little while to go back up to its proper, whatever it is, like 40.6 volts. And then so it's sitting for about 10 minutes, doing nothing, no current. Then all of a sudden, it just accelerate full blast for, about 15 seconds or something like that. You can see that the large 16 amp spike of current. And then nothing. And you can see how the voltage decreases for that time. I'll put this other graph on. This is just expanding. This is this part here, but expanding. No, just leave it. So it's just, a few little calculations. That basically it went from 40.6 volts down to 38 volts under load. The battery decreased by 5.6 volts, and it was giving 16 amps of current. So if you take 5.6 volts, divide by 16 amps, you get 340 milliohms, or about 0.3 ohms is the internal resistance approximately. It's 0.3 ohms. It's 340 milliohms, about 0.3 ohms, roughly. Yeah. And actually, we're going to do more tests. We did some other tests, but they weren't very good. Our data got screwed up to see how does the impedance of the battery vary as it discharges. So we'll do the same test, later on. Discharge it a bit more, let it sit for a while, and then do the same test. So, but I don't think it's going to change very much in a lithium-ion battery. Honestly, I think it'll be about the same. That would be my prediction. But of course, I could be wrong. I think what's likely to happen, though, is let's say that I do this exact same test every month for the next 2 years of using the battery. I think what we're going to see is the internal resistance will increase slightly month by month as the battery ages. I think this is one thing that will happen to the battery, which means it can give out, it will tend to sag more. So instead of sagging to here, maybe after 500 charges it'll be sagging down to here or here, who knows, right? So the internal resistance of the battery determines how much power it can give out. There's another thing, which is the amp hours, which is the area under this curve, basically. So amps times hours. This is seconds, but you have to multiply by 3,600 and what have you. You can calculate the amp hours of that. In fact, this graph does show amp hours, but I didn't put it on here. And that's another important thing, because that determines how far you can go with your battery. So the internal resistance basically tells you how powerful it is, and the amp hours or watt hours, if you multiply by the voltage, average point, then will tell you how far you can go. And these are really the two important things about the battery. And this is what Charles Richer and I plan to monitor these things over time as we use certain battery packs and see
they get worse and worse basically with age. That's it. Okay.
Robert, I have one question. Because that comes off of all airplanes, there's no function that relates to how quickly the wind is turning.
There is an RPM sensor. You can put a magnet.
And does the chip accept an RPM number?
It has an RPM sensor.
It has a pin for RPM.
Yes.
Pulse it. Like you just pulse it. Any way you pulse it, it'll.
And it recognizes that's a speed parameter.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's not
Yeah, somehow it has.
Is that in road? You can use that to get a distance from work.
Someone maybe want to close that door if it's too noisy?